Obuseni como our channel so aksi AGH Politics Avenue. Podcast or set friend make make headlines. Na jembre na edibi exomo ni dem ho braxie mu yanko political harvest dim. Enne yede wuhia me a aya na obomode na subscribe to the channel. Hit notification bell so share na adofo account so answer into enkebi. Onia aya na otime leave your comment constructively under the comment section. Na Sammy Gyamfi eye codeboard CEO ekopi mu ewo eye Alfred Okansi show so ewo eye TV3 na onua o make expose bi a ehu behia se yidi exumwo na o kire se nanado dankwa ekuf ado amra na papa no ti akonwa so no woni na bedwafo Bank of Ghana to good tese omu eboka eye 5.6 billion Ghana cedi onua enye asem koto akra net loss no na wajemre abra obo yinchiremu efa sa nsem ya meken hu na yensemre ebubo ewura na so ye abra owura Sammy Gyamfi ajemre na o meki sa allegations based on nsema making AGH Politics Avenue yonko nsimfo
because obi edisika anaze somebody has mismanaged. But if you said that, okay, I won't buy it at Forest Bureau rate because I don't want to incur that exchange rate differential. I'll buy it at interbank rate. You just came into office. You just established the gold board. You have not even put out your policies yet. You think that we would have gotten 104 tons? No. So that is the cost. Then, of course, the Bank of Ghana says, because we don't have dollars coming in from anywhere and we are buying gold, let's use market incentives like what? Buy the gold at spot price. Because in 2021, we had an experience. We introduced a 3% tax on gold, withholding tax. And gold volumes collapsed by over 90%. We didn't get any gold. So Bank of Ghana, learning from that experiences, we won't buy it at a discount. We will buy it at 100% the cost. We will give the world market price, all of it, to the miner. Okay? And then the cost, like the shipment cost and the rest, we will take that cost. So it's the price the Bank of Ghana has to pay to generate over $10 billion without borrowing, because if they had borrowed, they would have incurred interest. And they would have created debts which they have to service every year. So even this alternative is cheaper than going to borrow $10 billion. So this loss, is that the product of mismanagement? Look at the figures, put that back on the screen. And let me do a comparison for you. In 2024, Alfred, give me 1 minute before you come in.
Quickly.
Put that same page on the scene. In 2024, are you listening to me? The Bank of Ghana bought 45 tons of gold. 45 tons of gold. Supplied them by PMMC and a private company called Erstwhile. On that 45 tons of gold, the highest price at which they got it was $2,700. $2,700. That was the highest price per ounce. The highest gold price reached in 2024, 2007. 45 tons. What was the loss? These people who are talking all over the place, what was the loss they made? 5.6 billion net loss. 5.6 billion. Let me show you that. That is what is called net loss on gold deals. 5.6 billion, 2024. Then we come, we don't buy 45 tons. We don't buy 60. We don't buy 80. We buy 111. Small scale is 104. Then you add what they bought from the last scale, which is about 10 tons. You buy that 111 tons. At the time, the world market price almost doubled to 4,300, from 2,700, a high of 2,700 to a high of 4,300. And the net loss is 9 billion, and they are talking.
Let me say this now.
And they are talking. And we brought in over $10 billion. That has led to the stability. But for that, look, where would we have gotten dollars for the BDCs who bring in oil? For all these players in the economy, businesses who need dollars desperately, the commercial banks for their customers.
Now, let's stay the same on this particular.
You see, no, before you come in, let me just wrap up this point. So, because if you look at the three main expenditure items that led to the 15.6 billion operating loss that people are making noise about, you will see that the Bank of Ghana is a victim of its successes. This is the cost of economic stability, not the product of mismanagement. You understand? And these are the details. When they talk, they won't show you the figures. We are showing you the figures. But what you have to ask yourself is that in assessing a central bank, are we just using profit and loss? Profit and loss is important. Look, the Czech National Bank, which is the central bank of Czech Republic, they declared negative equity from 2002 to 2019, 17 years. Yet, they were one of the best central banks in Europe. 2023, the European Central Bank declared a loss of 7.9 billion euros. Wait. 7.9 billion euros. 2024, 1.3 billion euros. Does that mean that that central bank is incompetent? No. The most important thing in assessing a central bank is whether or not it is delivering on its core mandate. The core mandate of price stability given it by the Constitution. Not even an act of parliament, the Constitution. You get my point? And to the extent that you incurred a total loss of 9.4 billion in December 2024. In 2024, 9.4 billion. And inflation was 23.8. Food inflation, 27%. Public debt to GDP, 61%. Lending rate over 30%. The credit rating, junk. You understand? Currency depreciation of 19%. So if Bank of Ghana has increased that loss from 9.4 to 6, and if you look at the gap, that gap, if you take the revaluation loss, which is as a result of the appreciation of the cedi, you can call that an appreciation effect, cedi appreciation effect. If you take the 5.4 from their 15.6, they come to the same 9.4 billion the MPP was in 2024.
And in fact...
And look at their results. Look at their results and the impact on Ghanaians.
Now, my guests are going to be joining Sammy Gyamfi in a bit, and so just stay with us here on the key point. Now, there was a point that you made, which I would want us to go back to, because you highlighted the gains, juxtaposed the gains to the cost that the Bank of Ghana had to bear.
And the cost I've shown you is not because of mismanagement,
and
some is even because of the appreciation of the currency.
Right, and the loss that we are seeing on its books.
One minute. Can you go to the OCI? Let me show you something. The other comprehensive, there's something very important I forgot. The other comprehensive income loss, yes, stay there. The other comprehensive income loss, which is 19.3 billion, with the MPP asked to the 15.6 to get their 34 billion. Let me tell you something about that. Do you know the main cause of that loss? You have it on your screen. Show it to you. Look, come this way. Let me read it. Alfred, come. Exchange and revaluation losses on gold, SDR, and foreign securities. Remember, I read Section 7 of the Bank of Ghana Act to you. And I told you that the law that Parliament has passed is that if the Bank of Ghana makes a revaluation loss on gold that it is holding, SDR is the money IMF has given Ghana, which is being held by the IMF. You understand? Mm-hmm. And their foreign securities, if they make any revaluation loss, it should be in the other comprehensive income and not the profit and loss. What loss did they make? 23.6 billion, just because the cedi appreciated. Look at 2024 figure. Look at what is on the screen. 2024.
That is over
10.5 billion profits. Profits. So the NPP made profits, which is revaluation gains, because they supervised the depreciation of the cedi by 19% in 2024. They made a profit in their revaluation account, a gain of 10.5 billion. Just because the cedi was depreciating and we were suffering. So at the time in the retail market, $1 was 16 cedis and we were suffering. Addison and his team at the Bank of Ghana were happy because they will make revaluation gains. Why? Because the rates, exchange rate that you are using to convert their foreign investments and securities and assets now has gone up. So you know what, when they tell you that they were making gains, they were reducing our loss, and we have come to increase it. Do you know what they are saying? They are celebrating gains as a result of the depreciation of the cedi, not structural reforms or structural management gains. Gains as a result of the depreciation of the cedi, they are saying that is recovery. But losses as a result of the appreciation of the cedi, they are saying that is a reversal of recovery. Does that make sense to you?
You see, for the domestic gold purchase program, and based on the losses that was incurred, which you referenced, over 9 billion, something must change, obviously. We cannot continue on this path. You referenced why you had to go on that path. so as to tackle small.
Let me just answer you even before you finish.
Because even though you have done the reassessment of the rate gap, which has contributed to a large chunk of this 9 billion that we're talking about, to about 90%. If you are going on with this domestic gold purchase program, then if you're going to increase the volumes coming in, we're going to incur more.
So how do we fix it? Let me just answer that. You see, we came into office. Gold Board was established in April. We have to now put in place the organization, recruit workers, put in place system, new licenses, new reforms. You can't use 8 months to change a system that has been in place for many, many decades. So we had to just continue the Bank of Ghana's domestic gold purchase program. But this time around, with the new mandate given to the Gold Board, scale it up in terms of volumes and in terms of FX repatriation. And that is why we got results, positive results that has never been achieved in the history of Ghana. Okay? But now 2026, President Mahama says, we promised a reset, so let's reset it. So what have we done? We have ended domestic gold purchase program, which is designed to incur cost for national economic stability. And the chunk of that cost is the rate gap that I've explained to you. Forest Bureau,
you are
Bank of
buying
Ghana
from the miners at the Forest Bureau
and you are buying at spot price for good reason, to get good for results. But you've gotten the results and you're saying, look, for efficiency's sake, can I bring down the cost? So now we have ended domestic gold purchase program. We have introduced a policy called Ghana, which has been approved by Cabinet and Parliament.
How is it different from this domestic?
It is called Ghana Accelerated National Reserve Accumulation Program. How is it different? We have reduced the cost of generating foreign reserves through domestic gold purchase program, which is about 16%. It was 16%. We brought it to 7.25% under Ghana. And by next year, it's going to 5%. And by the following year, 3%. So within the short to medium term, we want to erase the cost. And under Ghana, Gold Board does not buy gold at Forest Bureau rates again. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Gold Board buys gold at interbank rates because now we have settled. We have consulted the miners. We are saying that if you continue to sell gold to us at Forest Bureau rates, and Bank of Ghana has to convert it in their books at interbank, the rate gap creates about 90% of losses. And so please, bear with us. And these miners have been very patriotic. They are bearing with us. Once in a while, when the gap between Forest Bureau and interbank is not that much, less than 1 cedi, we buy at interbank. When the gap is more than 1 cedi, we give them something called bonus just to bridge the rate. And it is now just 2%. So that is a small cost compared to the about 10% cost, rate gap cost we were incurring last year. Okay? And under Ghana, we have reduced the discount. Under MPP, when they bought gold under domestic gold purchase program in 2023, and they shipped it to their off-takers, only one off-taker, they had only one, called Alpha Stream, who was an agent, an intermediary, and was buying gold and selling it to another company called Stonex. The middleman broker, they sold all the gold to this middleman. And this middleman, do you know the discount? 2.2%. Now we have brought it to 1.2%, 1%. And if there is pre-financing, maybe 1.4, 1.5, 1.6%. So we are bringing down the discount. We are reducing purity losses and the other costs. So that is what we are doing under Ghana. And under Ghana, we want to mop up small scale 2.45 tons a week. And large scale, that's 0.55 a week. So 3 tons of gold in a week, large scale and small scale, which brings us over $400 million. And we want to do this for up to 2028 and accumulate 15 months of import cover so that the economy is resilient. And when there is any external shock like COVID, Ukraine war, or COVID-19, our economy can stand the test of time. So that is what we are doing under Ghana at a very reduced cost with a clear roadmap to eliminate the cost. Now, Alfred, 1 minute.
No, because the element of cost is one thing.
No, but let me make another very important point. I don't want to belabor this. There is one thing that has not really been emphasized in this discussion on the Bank of Ghana's 2025 audited financials. And that is what? It is loss of income. You see, one of the major sources of operating income of the Bank of Ghana borrows money and from commercial banks, and they pay interest. In that same way, Alfred, the Bank of Ghana also lends money to government, and government pays interest on it. You know that, right? So they also issue bills to government. So in 2022, they gave governments a loan, let me put it that way, 44.5 billion cedis, which government is supposed to be paying interest on. But the reckless MPP government mismanaged the economy such that they said, we can't pay you. So the domestic debt exchange program, Bank of Ghana was giving a 50% haircut. So the income that Bank of Ghana must get every year from monies it has lent to government, Bank of Ghana is losing that money, that income. That is what is deep worsening their profit and loss and their equity. It is the biggest DDP. You see, they talk about negative equity. The Bank of Ghana was always having a positive equity. Equity simply means when we look at all your assets and we compare it to your liabilities, your assets should be more than your liabilities, okay? The Bank of Ghana was always in positive equity. Until 2022, when the recklessness of the MPP government reached a crescendo. And we woke up one day because the Bank of Ghana printed a lot of money for the government, which the government refused to pay what it was supposed to pay. Then Bank of Ghana declared negative equity of 55 billion. Then it went to 66 billion negative. Then it came to 61 billion negative. Okay? So, of course, the negative equity of the Bank of Ghana did not start today. Nenya Semwa, Alfred, you, since Bank of Ghana came into being, the biggest loss they have ever suffered, the biggest loss was in 2022. A 60.8 billion Ghana cedis loss. 60.8 billion. And the people who supervise a loss of 60.8 billion, they are today holding press conferences. Some are writing theses to the IMF, and they are giving us lectures on how to manage the Bank of Ghana.
There'll be a response to you on that. I'm going to go for this quick break. Now, when I come back, Richard Ayangba and also Kofi Bento, Martin Bebu will be joining you. But
before you go, can I just deal with the outlook?
When we come back.
When you come out, talk about the 2026
outlook. What you have just referenced is what this particular chart talks about, the trend of losses that we have seen in the central bank. The most important thing is what has to change so that...
We ain't some who team course watching on so I'm not so jemre. That's an so bad in there don't be Edomania. Unia in share. But many are so to subscribe to the channel. Hit notification bell so share. Now out of 4 accounts will answer into me and KB. I will leave you comment constructively under the comment section. That for Rubia say oh pay a year news unia efa politics one. Make sure say ubitimi di wani actually a year GH Politics Avenue. I have say and I sumu unia enye asem koto akra. Na yedin komo efa a year Sammy Gyamfi a year MPP America no umu allegations of Mudiba Abonting say a year a car Bank of Ghana abono just say a year duchamun no jembre ewo Afrido Kansi Tumedi so a obu inchim mesra wo say yonko na yenhwene